Hello, everyone. My name is Aleem Visram, and I'm an adjunct marketing professor at both the Rotman School of Management at the University of Toronto and the Schulich School of Business at York University. Today, I'm going to walk you through how to optimize your LinkedIn profile by improving the way you actually present yourself on LinkedIn. And also, I'm going to walk you through how to network effectively on LinkedIn for both job prospecting, career, and increasing your potential on LinkedIn through networking. So the first question is, why are you here today? Most of you who are students are going to be graduating relatively shortly, or you may be looking for a summer internship. And if you think about how much time you spend looking for jobs and why you came to university to get a degree, I think most of you will agree that getting a good job at the end of the program was the point of actually going to university. And so I ask you to think about how much time you spend every day looking for work. If that is your primary purpose of going to university, then how much time are you actually dedicating to finding a job? And one of the things I think you'll learn very quickly is that most jobs are not available directly through the Career Management Center or through your university. Most companies will have to post 6 months to even up to a year ahead of time for jobs at universities. And no longer are they just going to the top business schools in Canada. They post those jobs at every university in almost every program. So even if you do get a job through university recruiting, it's very, very difficult because they get thousands and thousands of applications from very qualified students. I'll give you an example. I was involved in recruiting for both American Express and for Kraft. And when we went through, we had over 10,000 resumes for 4 potential job postings. And what we typically did is when we got the resumes, we would actually go through them, pick out the top candidates, and then look at their LinkedIn profile. And more, you're seeing the most recruiters will actually look at your LinkedIn profile first before they bring you in for an interview. And one amazing thing, this is one of my favorite quotes from Michelle Obama. She said that if we can open up a little bit more to each other and share our stories, our real stories, that's what breaks down barriers. But in order to do that, you have to believe your story has value. Be vulnerable, dare to be vulnerable. So the moral of this is you don't just want to post your resume on LinkedIn. That is not what's going to get you a job. Your profile on LinkedIn should make you stand out from everybody else, should differentiate you, and people should understand after they read your profile what you're about, what is important to you, what are your values, what are some things that are different or unique, and the reason why they should hire you or connect with you. So why is LinkedIn the best tool? I'm going to give you an example. On other social media, if you're talking about donuts, on Facebook, you would say something like, I like donuts. On Snapchat, you'd say, watch me eat a donut. On TikTok, you might say, watch my donut dance. On Instagram, here's a cool photo of my donut. On Pinterest, here's a recipe for donuts. And on Spotify, I'm listening to donuts. So there are more personal tools for social media. LinkedIn is a professional network. And the difference with LinkedIn is that you would talk more about donuts. I hope to operate a donut franchise one day. I'm looking for a job at a donut company. I have 3 years experience making donuts. My top skills are donut production and sales. And here are 3 recommendations from former donut colleagues. It's a much more professional tone. It's also more effective for professionals because there are over 1 billion professionals that are using LinkedIn on a regular basis around the world. So why is LinkedIn the best tool? It is the best place for professionals to connect and also to connect to jobs. There are over 2.8 million recruiters using LinkedIn to fill open jobs every day. So you may be a student that's graduating in the next few months. You'll notice that the postings that you'll find on LinkedIn for the same companies that are recruiting through universities won't be through the university recruitment. Because a lot of the time, companies will hire and fire people on an ongoing basis. And they don't just recruit through universities, they recruit through LinkedIn to fill those job postings. You'll get a great opportunity to network with millions of mentors and also become a mentee if you have experience. And there are over 30 million employers on LinkedIn, and over 11 million job opportunities. If we look at just the Greater Toronto area, there are over 30,000 job postings today that are open. So if you are not using LinkedIn, you should start. And hopefully through this session, you'll learn more about how to use LinkedIn to network effectively. If you look at the number of people on LinkedIn, it's actually over 1 billion worldwide. There's over 50 million companies, over 11 million jobs worldwide, over 36,000 skills, 90,000 schools, and 280 billion pieces of knowledge. So before we get into your profile and your story, I'm going to use an analogy for LinkedIn. So what most people do when they're looking for a job is they connect with someone on LinkedIn and they send them their resume and say, I'm looking for a job. That is the wrong approach. And the reason why it's a wrong approach is I'm going to give you an analogy to dating. The first time you meet someone, you don't ask them to marry you. It's really rare that the first time you meet someone, you'd be like, okay, I want to marry you, and you get down on one knee, right? So when you're first meeting someone and even reaching out to them, you shouldn't be sending them your resume because they don't know you. So when you think about it in dating, usually first, let's say you're on an online app and you're scrolling through and you find someone, the first message you send them is usually not even asking them out. It's asking them about themselves, maybe commenting on one of their pictures, learning a little bit about them before you interact. And the same is true for LinkedIn. Before you reach out to someone, you should take a look at their profile, read through their experience, look at what they've posted, and then send them a personalized note. And that's going to make you way more effective. So the first thing they look at, if you think about what are the top 3 things that people look at in your LinkedIn profile, what do you think they are? I want you to take a second just to think about it. What are the top 3 things on LinkedIn? Okay, everybody got their answer? So first impressions are the most important. And before anybody connects with you, they're going to look at your profile picture. And if you don't have a professional profile picture in proper business attire where you look like you're going for an interview or going to an office job, they're probably not going to connect. So the number one thing is your photo, okay? Members with the photo get up to 9 times more connection requests, 21 times more profile views, and 36 times more messages. But be very careful when you upload a photo. Make sure it's a high-res photo. Make sure it's not your full body, it just has to be to your shoulders. And make sure that the background is blurred. So anybody who has an iPhone or a Samsung phone, you can stand against a plain background and take a nice picture. Make sure you smile. You want to look presentable because it's the first time someone's going to actually see your face. And when they see your face, then they'll decide on whether or not they connect. So what's the second thing that people look at when they look at your profile? Think about that. The second thing they do is look at your headline. And what the big mistake is that most people make is they just put their job title or their status. So how many of you here listening to this have your job title as, let's say, BBA graduate or MBA graduate 2024 and the school that you go to? That's pretty much every single student that is graduating. So think about how you can differentiate yourself in your headline. It's not just an opportunity to show what you are, it's also, it's an opportunity to show what you are, not just what you do. So when you're writing your headline, ask yourself these 3 questions. If this is the only thing someone sees, what does it say about me? Does this represent my professional brand and show why I am unique? Does it capture what a recruiter would care about? And as an example, there's some good examples up here. Design thinking meets social impact meets business strategy. That sounds a lot more interesting than someone who's like looking for a job in design. The other one, head of client strategy and business development at Beyond. Okay, that's their job title. Not really tells me what area they're in. It doesn't tell me if they're just in strategy and marketing and finance. Okay. The third one down, strategic revenue partnership marketing and development executive. The word executive gives this person a lot more power because people think, oh my God, they're senior level. If you own a startup business, you're an executive. Okay, so if you have a startup business, that would be a good thing to do. Curriculum designer facilitator gives you a little bit more. This person empowering the global workforce at LinkedIn. Empowering is a very strong word. So you get examples of how to do this. The third thing that people look at is your industry and your education, because that's the next section that comes down. And more importantly, also your summary. Your summary is really important. Your summary shouldn't just be a snapshot of, oh, I worked at this company for this number of years. It should tell them about who you are, what you're about, and what you're looking for. And we'll talk about that in a second. When you add your industry and education, it helps people find you in the search. There's more than 300,000 people that are searching by industry on LinkedIn every week. And if you're a student at a university, what you should not only put your degree, put your area of specialization, put in the courses that you're taking, show some societies, or if you're in any of the clubs at school, put those leadership positions. So for example, this person's written master's degree in aerospace, aeronautics, and astronautical engineering. That sounds a lot more impressive than just master's degree. The other one is put bachelor's degree, and then underneath he's got activities in societies, MIT Freshman Class Council, MIT Undergraduate Association Events Committee. If you have leadership positions, either voluntarily at school or in clubs, put those. It will improve your ranking, and also when potential recruiters or employers are looking at your position, it shows that you have expertise in that specific area. So if you were applying for a job in marketing or finance, make sure you write marketing and finance under your educational background. It's very important. It will also improve your search rankings, because when recruiters are looking for candidates, they'll actually use the keywords in the job title. So for example, if the job title is marketing, you should have marketing in your experience, either from work or from your education. The next one is to draft a compelling summary. And once people are interested in you, they're going to read your summary. This is your 30-second elevator pitch. Your summary is literally your chance to tell people why they should hire you, what is different about you. So in this, you want to make it more than 40 words so it shows up in search. Make sure you include the keywords in your summary so that also comes up in search. So whatever is in the job description that you're applying to or the area you're applying to, you should have those keywords. You should focus on your career accomplishments and aspirations. And this should be 1 to 2 sentences about who you are, 3 to 5 sentences about your experience, your top skills, and your key passions, and 1 to 2 sentences about your future goals and how other members can engage with you. So here's an example of someone who's written, as a sales leader with over 25 years of experience. Notice he used the word sales. That's what he's working in. I'm passionate about connecting customers into solutions that help grow and scale their software businesses. My sales organization is focused on delivering excellence, delighting customers, and solving large software challenges at scale. Leadership is a privilege, and I feel fortunate to lead an organization where employees connect into their passions and purpose every day. I believe that culture and talent helps us bring mission to our life. That tells me more than just, hey, I'm a sales leader that worked at XYZ company for 25 years. It shows what his business is about, how he helps clients or customers find solutions, what their organization focuses on, and then also shows his leadership by saying, I feel fortunate to lead an organization. If you are looking for employment, you should also write in the summary statement of what type of employment you're looking for. So looking for a career in marketing or sales with relevant work experience, here is how to connect with me, and put your email address. It's very important to include that as well. Okay, the next step is to detail your work experience. And if you don't have work experience, include volunteer experience. It's relevant. People with up-to-date positions received up to 5 times more connection requests, 8 times more profile views, and 10 times more messages. So notice for that same person who runs ABC Sales Technologies, in his description, not in his summary, but in his job description, he has a lot more information about the details. Okay, so he talks a little bit about what ABC Sales Technologies is. It's focused on helping small software businesses around the world thrive, grow, and scale. We believe that platforms, tools, and technology can transform the way businesses go to market with new software solutions. If you're a software business, he's explaining what his business does, and then he goes into the details of what he actually does. I grew our software sales business line to over $20 million in revenue. delivering solutions to hundreds of software businesses in over 30 different countries. I've had the pleasure of leading a talented organization of over 200 salespeople. I thrive to create a culture that aligns into our company values and inspire employees to do the best work for their careers. Notice that he didn't say, I have great leadership and training experience, and I have lots of exceptional software sales business. He quantified it with actual results and actual numbers of people that he manages, right? He manages over 200 people. He's done software sales business to over 20 million in revenue, to hundreds of software businesses in 30 different countries. That sounds very impressive. If you can remember one thing, it's the STAR model. Every time you write a bullet point on your resume or on your LinkedIn, you should explain the situation, the task, the action, the result. So STAR stands for situation, task, action, result, with the focus on the result. Okay, the result is what did you actually do? So for example, if you grew, let's say, sales from $100 to $150, instead of writing grew sales to $150, you can say a 50% increase in sales. It sounds better. Just make sure you don't lie and make up those numbers. It's really important that it also matches what you have on your resume, because employers will cross-reference your LinkedIn profile and your resume. So just like I said, the tip is, instead of writing something like, I'm an effective leader with the ability to lead productive teams, show versus tell. If you write something like this, I led a cross-functional team of 25, achieved 138% of the team's sales goal, and coached 3 junior staff to become managers within 1 year, that is way more impactful and shows that you actually have these leadership skills and your ability to lead productive teams without saying it. Okay, so again, focus on showing versus telling. Try to quantify whenever you can. And then instead of just posting, copying, pasting from your resume, the bullet points, LinkedIn provides you with the opportunity to add multimedia. We know that pictures and videos and presentations are way more effective than just text. So take the opportunity to post pictures. Take the opportunity to post any awards or achievement you have, okay? Take the opportunity, if you did presentations at any of those jobs, post those presentations, okay? It's really important, because if someone wants to see what kind of work you have, this way they can actually go through and take a look at what it is. And we know that dynamic, visually appealing content is way more effective in helping you sell yourself and promote yourself as a brand than just having text. And if you don't have a ton of work experience, or even if you have a ton of work experience, include the volunteer experience. Members who add volunteer experience and causes get up to 6 times more profile views than those without. And I can tell you, in the 5 different jobs I had, every single one of those interviews, the first interview, they actually looked at my volunteer experience, and our conversation was more about my volunteer experience than my work experience. So if you have great leadership experience in a volunteer capacity, put it on there. I'll give you a great example. When I interviewed for the job at Pfizer, I was interviewing with the VP, and I had started and worked in a nonprofit of inner city kids. It's called the Doug Philpott program. And it just so happens that the VP picked up my resume because he had already donated through his tennis club to that charity that I worked at. And my whole interview was a discussion about that. If I hadn't put in the details of that volunteer experience and explained how I started 10 different inner city kids tennis programs, I would have never got that interview. So this is an opportunity to showcase how you're different. Volunteer experience shows a lot about yourself. Include other things, like if you had incredible experiences, like for me, I climbed 3 different mountains. Having that on my LinkedIn just shows what kind of character I am. It shows something different about me that no one else has. And also, if you have international experience, make sure you highlight that. Talk about that you've worked or studied or traveled to many different countries. The other easy thing to do is to add skills and get endorsed for those skills. When people go to LinkedIn, at the bottom, you'll see it says featured skills, and it says how many people have endorsed you for that skill. So if I say that I have great experience in Microsoft Office, financial analysis, and management, that's me saying it. But if people have actually endorsed me for that skill, it's a testimonial that says that I'm actually good at that skill. So when you're putting skills, it's better to add 5 or more skills. It increases your profile views by about 17 times, but do not put 20 skills on your LinkedIn. Pick the top skills that are relevant for the job or the career that you're applying for. And then it's really easy. When you build your LinkedIn network, you can just ask anybody. You message them all to endorse you for that skill. No one goes into the 99 people who have endorsed me or endorsed this person from Microsoft Office and checked who they are. So you should send skills. You should ask for endorsements for skills from everybody in your LinkedIn network. And you should also endorse everybody in your LinkedIn network for their skills. So what I always tell people, it's better to give instead of take. So if you have someone who's on your LinkedIn, endorse them for several skills and then tell them, hey, I just endorsed you for these skills. Do you mind endorsing me for these skills as well? And they're more likely to do that because of reciprocity. So how do you build a network and community on LinkedIn? This is the most important tool today. And I can tell you that if you do this and follow these steps, you will be able to network with the right people and find the right job, or at least find the right connections to find the right job. We know that if you just apply to a job through a resume database on LinkedIn and you don't have a profile connection and you don't use that profile connection to send your resume or recommend you to HR or the people who are hiring, you have a much smaller chance of getting a job. So how do you build your network? The important thing is that 50% of people get hired through a personal introduction. I can tell you that in all 10 of my previous work experiences, every single one of them came through a connection on LinkedIn that I knew. And so literally I had gone to someone who knew the person that was hiring, and I asked them not only to introduce me, but also to recommend me. And I'll explain to you in this how to do that. So the biggest mistake people make is when they send a connection request to someone, they don't personalize the message. So the default on LinkedIn, if you send a connection request, is I'd like to add you to my network on LinkedIn. 50% of the time, people will not accept you without explaining the context of why you want to connect. If you do actually write a personal message saying, I'd like to connect with you because I'd like to learn more about what you do, or I'm interested in a career in this area and I saw that you have experience at XYZ company, that will increase your connection rate by 50 to 70%. So make sure you personalize that message when you're trying to connect with someone. A really good tool for all of you, if you're students, once you graduate, you have access to the alumni network. At Rotman, the alumni network is over 100,000 people at the Rotman School of Management. At Schulich, it's over 76,000 people. So that increases your network automatically. Once you join the alumni network, you can actually go through and look at the people that are actually, on that group. You can see where they live, you can see what field they work in, you can see their job title. It's much easier to connect with someone who has something similar to you. And the interesting thing is the number one way companies recruit is through employees referring people they know. And a lot of companies will incentivize employees they know by giving them money. So for example, when I worked at Kraft, I referred 5 people. 4 of those people got hired and I received remuneration for actually referring them. Okay. That being said, that doesn't mean you should go to everybody you know and say, hey, can you please refer me for this job? You have to go through a process. And the first step is you send them a personalized connection request. Once they accept the connection request, your second step is to send them a personalized message. And when you send that personalized message, you should take the time, take 5 to 10 minutes to read through their LinkedIn profile. Look at the things you have in common. Look at their previous work experience. So when you send them a connection request or send them an actual message, you're not going to say, hey, I'm interested in marketing. I saw you work in marketing. Can you pass my resume on to HR? Or I'm interested in applying to this job. Can you refer me? If they don't know you, they're not going to refer you. So the first step is just to connect with them. Once they accept the connection, give them a small message to say, hey, look, I'm really interested in learning about what you do and about your experience. I would love to connect with you. Make it easy for them. Do not tell them I'm available to meet at XYZ date and time. That's not going to work. Make it simple. Ask for like a very small ask. Remember, when you first meet someone, you want to do a short date. You don't want to go on like some long whole day. If you ask them, oh, I want to spend the whole day with you on the first date, they're probably going to say no. So make it easy. Ask them to meet you for a coffee. But even when you ask them, before you ask them to meet for a coffee, ask them for a phone call or a Zoom call. And all you have to do is, I would just like to ask you for 5 minutes of your time. I know you're very busy. So when you have a moment, please feel free to call me or email me and let me know when you're available. That shows respect for their time, and it shows that you're considering them and give them the opportunity to connect with you. It's much easier to start off with a short 5-minute phone call. You have the conversation with them. It's always better to do something on Zoom or on Microsoft Teams where you can see the person, because remember that first impression really matters. Okay. When you spend 5 or 10 minutes talking to them, at the end of that phone conversation, I'm sure they're going to ask about you. Do not start that conversation with, hey, I'm a marketing graduate at the Schulich School of Business or at the Rotman School of Management. I'm looking for a job. Can you refer me? They don't know anything about you. Start by asking them questions about themselves. Ask them about their experience. Ask them about, if they were a graduate from Schulich, what they did when they graduated, or from Rotman. Find commonalities, and then at the end of that, they're going to ask you questions. And when they ask you questions, you tell them about yourself and tell them what you're interested in. Do not ask for the job the first phone call. Okay? Unless they ask you to send their resume, do not do that. It's like jumping from a first date to marriage. You got to take it in steps. Have that first conversation. And once you have that first conversation, you have to be respectful of their time. Say, I really appreciate you taking 10 minutes. It would be really nice to meet you for a coffee. And I know you're busy. I'll make it easy for you. I can meet you wherever is convenient for you. If there's a location close to your office or your home that you prefer to meet, let me know. I will come when you're available. That again shows respect for their time. It also shows that you appreciate that they're taking the time. If that doesn't work out, they're going to be like, oh, sorry, I'm too busy. No problem. Keep the connection open. You say, no problem, that's okay. Maybe we can set up another call. Okay, so it comes in steps. So after you ask for the first conversation with them, the next step is to ask to meet in a short time. Okay, and then the third step after that is then when you actually meet them in person, if you get a good feeling from them, you ask them if they know of any jobs that are being posted at their company, or better yet, if you looked on LinkedIn, you can actually see what jobs are posted and tell them, I'm interested in applying for this job. Do you know who you can refer me to? And if they don't know, say, okay, no problem. If you don't mind, I'd like to send my resume to you. If you can find out who the person is and send it to them. And if you don't mind, when you refer me to HR, if you can just copy me on that email so I can follow up directly. When someone refers you to a connection, you have a 50% better chance of getting that job because it comes from someone internally within the company that is trusted, that is recognized. And I can tell you that when we did recruiting both at Kraft and American Express, we only interviewed people who employees within the company said we should interview them or talk to them. So it came from internal referrals. Even though the job was posted both at the university and on LinkedIn, we only went to the people that we knew or people that had been recommended to us. So the other thing you need to do is, who do you have in your connections? LinkedIn, it's really easy to upload your existing contacts. So instead of going through and searching and adding everybody, you can actually upload your Outlook contacts, your Google contacts, or even your Outlook contacts. Okay. Otherwise, what you can do is go to My Network and then find people you already know and then send them a personal note. Don't just say, add me, I would like to add you to my connection on LinkedIn, the default. Write a personal note. It's going to make it more effective for you. The larger the network you have, the more potential connections you have. Because on LinkedIn, your first degree connections, they're people that are directly connected to you, but you can also connect to second degree connections. So for example, if I'm connected to someone and they're connected to someone else, I can go to them and ask them to introduce me to their second degree connections. So for example, if I have 100 connections and I connect to 100 people that also have 100 connections, now my potential network is 10,000 people. And that is the huge power of LinkedIn. And the other thing about it is, the larger your network, the better the algorithm is, the AI is at figuring out who the people you know are. So the larger your network, the better it is they're going to find other people you know or more likely to know. Do not send connection requests to people you don't know. It's like receiving spam. It's like if you think about your email and you get spam by people trying to sell you stuff or telemarketers calling you, that's what it is equivalent to on LinkedIn. So only connect to people you know or through connections to find people you know. And if it's people you don't know that you want to connect to, explain to them why you want to connect. That's what's going to help you improve the number of connections you're going to get. So the great thing about LinkedIn is you can use their search function. And if you're looking for a job, you can search specifically for people's names, for what company they work at, for what location they work at, and even their job titles. Okay. And when you do that, you can actually find specific people in specific roles. If you were applying for a role, so I'll give you an example. If you're applying for a role as an associate marketing manager at Pepsi, on LinkedIn, you can choose Pepsi, you can use, for example, Canada or GTA, and you can put in the title associate marketing manager. And you will find people that are currently doing that job. The mistake most people make is when they want to apply for a job, they go to the most senior person, like a VP or an executive or HR. That's the wrong approach, because those people will get thousands of connection requests for people looking for jobs, right? And to be honest, the more senior you are in a company, the less involved you are in the recruiting process. They'll typically be the ones doing the interviews, but they're not the ones doing the selection process. The easier way to do it is if you're a new grad or you're about to graduate, connect with people that are doing the job you want to do. So if you're applying for that job at Pepsi as an associate marketing manager, connect with people that are currently doing the job. And then send them a connection request and say, hey, look, I noticed that you're working at Pepsi. You graduated from the same business school I'm at. I'm interested in working for Pepsi, and I'd love to learn more about your job as an associate marketing manager. Wait for them to accept your request, then send them the personal note to say, hey, do you mind spending 5 minutes or 10 minutes for me to learn more about what you do and how you like it at Pepsi? If you get that first phone conversation and it goes well, and they ask you about yourself, then take it to the next step before you send your resume and say, hey, it would be really nice to meet you in person. Is there a good time or place for us to meet for a coffee? If they say yes and you have that in-person meeting, now you built a relationship with that person. They're way more likely to refer you or recommend you for a job. At that point, if it goes well, so we've gone from, being online, scrolling, finding someone, asking them out on a date, having a phone conversation first, then doing the first date. If the first date goes well, we go to the second date. The second date typically you'd want to make sure it's in person. You have the conversation, you spend time with them. Easy thing to do, easy way to get it is offer someone, say that you're going to take them out to lunch. Everybody loves a free lunch. The chances are that when you go out to lunch with that person, if you're a student, they're not going to make you pay, they'll pay for it. But just the gesture of offering to take someone out to lunch shows that you're actually kind and you're giving to them. When you have that lunch meeting or that coffee meeting, obviously you offer to pay. It's your first date. You want to make a good impression. After that happens, then continue the conversation, right? So then you can send them an email thanking them for the meeting, or send them a note on LinkedIn and say, listen, I really appreciate it. Then do your due diligence. Go on LinkedIn, find what jobs are, what in the company they work at, what job applications they have open, and then send them a note saying, listen, I'm interested in applying for this specific job. Would you be able to refer me? Ask for the referral first before you actually send your resume. If they say yes, then it'll be great. Here's my resume. Can you please forward it to the HR person and copy me so that I can follow up? The reason why you want to be copied is then you have a direct connection to the HR person. So you don't have to keep going back to that person and bothering them for the connection or for following up. You can follow up directly with HR. So here's an example of an informational interview. The purpose of the informational interview is to gain advice on your career path, learn about the industry you're interested in, learn about a specific company you like to work for, and to establish a professional bond. Okay? And not only that, there may not be a job opening at that company today, but maybe 6 months from now, there is a job opening. And if you keep in touch with that person consistently, you'll stay top of mind. And when that job opening comes up, they'll think of you and they'll refer you when it happens because you've maintained that contact. Okay. So the key thing about this is it's not just about one time you try to get a job, you send your resume and you're done. And just like dating, it typically takes maybe 10 different first dates with 10 different people before you get to the second date. So the benefit of doing this is that you can spend a few hours a day or even an hour a day and connect with maybe 10 different people. And out of the 10, one of them may respond, and that could be your potential job opportunity. But it takes time to build the relationship. So it's not going to happen overnight. You have to take time to build the relationship, to talk to them, to get to know them, for them to get to know you before they can refer you. Because remember, if they're referring you, it's their credibility and their reputation on the line. So if they refer someone that's not good, it's going to look bad on them to their company. So think of it that way, that you have to make a good impression, but they also need to make a good impression. And they need to make sure that you're the right fit if they're going to recommend you. So here's an example of someone who wanted, this girl named Kate, who wanted to connect with Aaron. She's a brand communications director at RUnity. She said, "Hey, Aaron, I'm currently exploring careers in communications and admire your experience and accomplishments in the industry. I'd appreciate the opportunity to hear about your career journey. Would you be available for a 20-minute chat over the phone or in person in the next few weeks? I look forward to hearing from you." The problem here is she didn't put her phone number or her email. So Aaron has to respond to her to get the 20-minute call. I wouldn't ask for a 20-minute call on the first time. I would say maybe like a 5 or 10-minute chat over the phone, or you, instead of doing it in person, you say, or on Zoom or Microsoft Teams in the next few weeks. And then she should put under her name, she should put her phone number in her email to make it easier. Because a lot of people don't check their LinkedIn messages that often. If, for example, 2 weeks pass and Aaron doesn't respond, what should you do next? I would send a follow-up message on LinkedIn, but I would actually Google her name and find out her email address, because a lot of people won't check their LinkedIn messages that frequently. And when you find her business email address, you can send her the same message over email and say, "Oh, I just want to let you know, I I already sent you a message on LinkedIn, but I'm not sure if you received it. I would love to connect with you." Right? Copy paste the same message. Notice how she didn't ask for a job. She said, "I'm currently exploring careers in communications and admire your experience and accomplishments." I would actually make that first part more customized. I would say, "I noticed that you're working as a brand communications director at RUnity for the last few years. And I noticed that you moved over from a different job. I would love to speak to you about your experience working at the different companies." Right? Try to make it as personalized as possible so that they know that you've taken the effort to learn about them first. This is another one. So this is the referral request. So this is a way to ask for a job referral by reaching out to your connections at companies you intend to apply to. Make sure you include why you're interested in the specific role, your appreciation for your connections consideration. And the stats are huge. More than 60% of the workforce has referred someone to work at their company. So this is what's currently happening. If you're not doing this and not reaching out to your network to get them to refer you, you're missing out on great opportunities. So for example, Kate wanted to connect with or get a referral from Seth Soon. He's the program manager at FixDev Communications. And this is the message she wrote. I'm actually going to critique this message in just a minute, but this is from LinkedIn, so I wanted to include it. "Hi, Seth. Hope you're doing well. I saw that FixDev is hiring a communication specialist, and I'm very interested in applying. This role seems like a great fit for me because it needs a self-starter who can operate within a complex environment. Would you be willing to share any information on the position, the team, and what they might be looking for in a candidate? I'd be greatly appreciative. Let me know if you have any questions about my experience as it relates to this role. All the best, Kate." So the big problem with this is she's applying to someone who's a program manager at FixDev for a communication specialist role. Program managers will not know anything about the communication specialist role. They're different areas. So she's asking him specifically about that job. He won't know it. He'll probably have to connect to someone to find out more about it, which is work for him. If he doesn't know Kate, he's not going to make the effort. Okay? So I would tweak this a little bit to make it more about him and his job as a program manager. Of course, you want to say that you're interested in working as a communication specialist, but your first message shouldn't be about asking about that role, because he probably doesn't know. And he probably wouldn't know who the team is. And even if he did know who the team was for hiring, it's probably not going to refer you to them right away. So again, I would start it a little bit different. I would talk about him and his role in program management, how he likes working at FixDev, and mention that you're interested in working for FixDev and would like to learn about the culture. Okay. And then you have the first conversation, and then you say, hey, would be really interested in this communication specialist role. Do you know the HR person who I could talk to? If he says no, then you say, okay, great. If I send you my resume, would you be able to find out who the person in HR is? Get a verbal agreement before you actually do it. Because if they say, yes, we're willing to do it, then you know that if you send it to them, there's a more likely chance that they're going to send it to the HR person. Okay. And then the next one is about expanding your network strategically. So this is about growing your network. The more people you have in your network, the better opportunity for you to connect for jobs, for prospecting, for mentors. It's a great opportunity for you to actually build a network for the future. Because right now you may not know what job you're going to be in 5 or 10 years from now, and you could be in completely different fields than you currently are or what you're currently looking for. So the larger your network, the better the opportunity. The people you should reach out to should be people you have something in common with, people who have a job or work at a company that interests you, people who may be able to connect you to someone who can help you achieve your goals. Okay, and in that you should say who you are, how you came across their profile, how you can help them. So notice how it says giving before taking. Okay, so how you can help them, and then how they can help you. Okay, so it could be as simple as looking at someone's profile and seeing what they post. And if they post something interesting, like their post or comment on their post before you even connect with them. It shows them that you're actually interested in them. Okay. Another great way to connect with people is through groups. There are thousands and thousands of groups on LinkedIn, and they're industry specific. So for example, if you're interested in marketing in Canada, the Canadian Marketing Association has over 100,000 members that work in the industry. For finance, the Canadian Finance Association has over 100,000 members. There are groups for every different company, for every type of different job, for every type of different volunteer experience. So you can filter these groups by using the search bar. You can join groups that are for professionals in your industry, alumni groups. I'd also join, if you're part of a volunteer organization, join the groups for those volunteer organizations. There will be people that donate or care about those organizations. And if you have the volunteerism in common, you can say, hey, I noticed that you were part of United Way Canada, and I volunteer with them at my business school. I would love to learn more about what you do. You want to try to find the commonalities that creates the connection. Also, the benefit of being in a common group is you can send them a connection request without knowing them. If you don't know them regularly and you're not in the same group, you'll actually have to get them to accept your connection request, and you may not be able to connect with them if they're not part of your network. So the way to really showcase your expertise is to post. If you spend time connecting and requesting for informational interviews, the rule of thumb is 10-1. So for every 10 people that you try to connect with, you may get 1 informational interview. Out of 10 informational interviews, you may get 1 potential opportunity to refer yourself to a job. So that means you need to connect with 100 people to get 10 informational interviews to get 1 potential job connection. And the big mistake people make is they make it generic. They copy and paste the same message. Hi, I'm interested in a job in marketing at your company. Would love to speak to you to learn more about it. That is the wrong approach. It doesn't tell them you're interested in a specific job, specific to their company, in a specific role. So it's way more effective to send 10 personalized messages than 100 generic messages. Most people, employers or people who work in the industry and professionals, they can read through that. They know that you're copying and pasting the same message. So the key thing is to start off by liking and sharing content that people in your network will care about and post. If you're interested in a job in finance and on your LinkedIn, you've never posted any articles or any information in finance, employers are going to be like, this person is just trying to apply, but they don't have any expertise. They haven't shown any examples of that they're actually interested in this job or have any expertise in that role. Again, as I mentioned, joining groups and exchanging insights with people is a great way to build your connections, but also to build the network of people who could potentially hire you. And the easiest way to get a recommendation or testimonial is to give one. If you write a recommendation or testimonial for someone, and it could even be like a peer that's part of a group. So for example, if you're a student and you're the VP of the social networking club, and you give a recommendation for your colleague who's also a VP and probably also a student, you can ask them to do the same for you. When you go on Google or Airbnb or Amazon, what do you look at first? You may find 12 different options for products. You're probably going to look at the number of reviews, the score of those reviews, and what people actually said. The same thing applies for LinkedIn. People who are recruiters will look at what recommendations you got, how many you got, and what did they say. And the more testimonials or recommendations you have for relevant skills to the jobs you're applying for, the better your chance of getting those jobs. And this is another one you can do that LinkedIn recommends, that you can write hashtag open to work. You can add your job titles, the types and locations you're interested in, indicate whether or not you're available immediately or casually browsing, or choose whether you want to share your open with all LinkedIn members or only recruiters. In my perspective, hashtag open to work sounds very desperate. It sounds like you don't have a job and you're desperately looking. It's like in the dating analogy, oh, I'm single and I'm looking to meet someone, right? So which is fine. You can put that out there. But I would recommend that instead of using that, you, in your headline, you put a specific area you're interested in. You provide some specific expertise, that you have relevant skills in that. And then in your summary, you can write, I'm looking for employment opportunities in XYZ field or XYZ positions. I think that's a lot more effective. And then if you haven't been searching for jobs on LinkedIn, again, recruiters are posting jobs on an ongoing basis on LinkedIn. Okay, so use the search filter, have specific keywords for the job titles, for specific companies, for the location, for the function. You can even filter by experience level. So they could have like 5+ years of experience. If you have 5+ years experience, you should put that in there. And also by the date. And to make it easier for you, there's search alerts on LinkedIn. So you can actually create search alerts to be notified when jobs you're interested are posted. So for example, the same thing, you can put a job title, you can put a keyword, the company, the location, the function, the industry, the experience level, and the date posted. And you can either get daily, weekly, or monthly summaries of all the postings. This will help you a lot. Instead of manually searching all the time, it'll send you emails or notifications whenever a job is posted for the company or the specific function you're looking for. And the other really important thing, if you're applying for a job at a company and you don't follow their LinkedIn page, they're probably not going to even interview you. Okay. And this is a really great way to also connect with people that work at the company, because if they work at the company and they post it on their LinkedIn, you can actually see it. So for example, at Starbucks, there's 146,936 employees on LinkedIn that claim that they actually currently work there. Okay. And also, if you click on the life section, you can learn more about the company's culture, their values, and professional development opportunities. And again, this is really important. If you're applying for a job for a company, make sure you follow their company page first, because recruiters on LinkedIn can filter specifically for candidates who've engaged with their company page. So not only follow it, but like it, maybe comment on it. Okay. And the other thing you can do is build your knowledge and insights using LinkedIn. If you look at the Greater Toronto Area, there are 2.5 million professionals in the GTA, 226,000 people that change jobs, and there are 34,000 job postings right now. And you can see which are the largest employers who are hiring, the top employers hiring, the top jobs posted, and the most in-demand skills. So that gives you a really good sense of which companies are hiring in what areas, but you can filter more specifically. And then this is the other huge benefit of LinkedIn. They have over 11,000 courses on business, leadership, creativity, and technology. If you actually filter on LinkedIn, it'll tell you what are the top 10 most sought after skills or most sought after jobs and relevant courses in those specific jobs. So I've circled digital marketer because it's the course that I teach, and you'll notice that it's in the top 10 skills, top 10 most wanted skills right now on LinkedIn. And the greatest thing about doing LinkedIn Learning is when you complete the course, you actually get a certificate that you can post on your LinkedIn. And that shows more that you've got higher education, but not just academic education with a degree. You've actually added it with courses on LinkedIn. And you can do the same on Google. Google has amazing certification courses as well. And if you want to improve your soft skills, you can actually do critical soft skills, and learn the latest virtual collaboration tools. They have excellent courses on AI as well, which is the latest trend. And that certification also helps you build your network and also build your resume for jobs. And you can see as an example, when you finish the LinkedIn Learning course, it gives you a certificate that you can post on your LinkedIn profile. And that also helps to differentiate you and your brand. The other thing I'm going to tell you that's very important is if you are trying to find a job, have a website. Build a free website on any of these platforms. You've got, you can use any of the free platforms that are available. And literally you can create a website to showcase yourself, and you can post a link to your website on your LinkedIn. That will help improve your brand and differentiate you. You can showcase things that are not related to your career, like pictures of your vacations. Tell more about yourself. If you volunteer with the organization, you can post pictures there as well to showcase who you are. And there's also a ton of personal development courses on LinkedIn. So you can do a search and you can find tons of different personal development courses. So just a few action steps to take away from this webinar. I want you to think about 3 things that you're going to do. The first one is to update your profile using the tools and tips I've given you. The second one is to go through and build your connections as fast as you possibly can. So upload your connections through your email. So either your Gmail, your Outlook, your Hotmail, or you can even upload an Excel file. And that way everybody who's in your network will connect with you. And then figure out specifically what industries, what companies, and what job titles you want to apply for before you start connecting to people. Because if you don't have any goals and objectives, you're going to just connect with millions of people that are not relevant to you. They may not be able to help you. And so be very specific when you're sending a message about the role of the person you're trying to connect with, their function, their company, and their job title. And be very personalized when you do it. And remember that process is start off with a personalized connection request, then send them a personal note of why you're interested in them, then ask for the first phone call or Zoom call or Microsoft Teams, have a 5 or 10-minute call, then ask to meet them. And after you meet them, that's after the 3rd step, then you ask to send your resume to them and for them to connect to you. If you don't build that relationship up front and take the time to do that, you will not achieve as much success as you would if you built a relationship with someone, because people won't recommend someone they don't know. It's very unlikely. Okay, and as I mentioned, this takes time. So spend about an hour a day sending messages. For 100 messages, personalized messages you send out, you may get 10 responses. Of those 10, you might have maybe 5 chats with people, and maybe one of those will have an in-person meeting that will refer you to a job. So it takes time and effort to do this. If you're going to be graduating in the next month or so, I would recommend you start spending at least an hour every day to do that. And then make sure you put on your LinkedIn profile your top skills, get recommendations from other people, try to provide visual content like presentations, examples of your work, videos, pictures, and even certificates. And with that, I hope that this has helped you. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you with your LinkedIn profile and even to help refer you and connect you to other people within my network. Thank you very much for your time.